The most fascinating thing about science is the ideas, the lifting of the human spirit.
Sometimes a science will tell something about ourselves. It'll tell us who we are. Rarely, evolution did this, and Copernicus did this, where we have a new understanding of who we are. And after all, we are our brains.
What we are, what you are, what I am, is a huge collection of cells. About 100 trillion at most recent count. 100 trillion cells, that's what you are. Not a single one of those is conscious. How can a collection of mindless, unconscious little robotic cells work together to create human consciousness?
Inside the cerebral cortex is the microscopic structure of thought. What we know is encoded in cells called neurons, tiny switching elements, every connection representing one bit of information. How many neurons do each of us have? Maybe 100 billion, comparable to the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And there are something like 100 trillion neural connections.
But the brain does much more than just recollect. It intercompares, it synthesizes, it analyzes, it generates abstractions.
It is this complex interplay of chemical, electrical, and physical events which underlies the rich tapestry of everyday experiences. The sights we see, the sounds we hear, the feelings we experience, the activities we initiate, and the ideas we ponder.
Yes, we have a soul, but it's made of lots of tiny robots.
Our thoughts, our visions, our fantasies have a tangible, physical reality.
What's unique about the human brain is that we can think in hierarchies. We can create this whole elaborate structure of ideas, give it a symbol, a word, and then use that symbol in another structure. And then we can build up these elaborate structures upon structures. We call that knowledge.
It's here that we have ideas and inspirations, here that we read and write, here that we do mathematics and music. The cortex regulates our conscious lives. It is the distinction of our species, the seat of our humanity. Art and science live here. Civilization is a product of the cerebral cortex.
You are, I am, a pattern of information. We're not a bunch of stuff. These particles change over very quickly. The actual cells die and are rebuilt, reconstructed on a very regular basis. So we are not physical stuff. If you really attach any importance to your own identity, that identity is a pattern of information.
You don't need something more to get something more. That's what emergence means. Life can emerge from physics and chemistry. The human mind can arise from neurobiology. It doesn't diminish the importance of these subjects to know that they follow from more fundamental things.
How can you make a living thing out of dead stuff? Well, you can. That's the wonder of it. You can make a living thing out of dead stuff. You can make a conscious thing out of unconscious stuff. You can make a thing with a soul out of things that don't have souls.
The evolution of complex life, its very existence in a universe obeying physical laws, is wonderfully surprising, or would be, but for the fact that surprise is an emotion that can exist only in a brain which is the product of that very surprising process. Our existence is desperately surprising. Natural selection produces living organisms which are entities of gigantic but not infinite improbability. On one planet, and possibly only one planet in the entire universe, molecules which would normally make nothing more complicated than a chunk of rock have somehow managed to gather themselves together into chunks of rock-sized matter, capable in some cases of thinking and feeling and falling in love with yet other chunks of complex matter. What we see of the real world, in a sense, is not the unvarnished real world, but a model of the real world, regulated and adjusted by sense data, but constructed so it's useful for dealing with the real world. The nature of the model in our head depends on the kind of animal we are.
We who embody the local eyes and ears and thoughts and feelings of the cosmos, we've begun, at last, to wonder about our origins, star stuff contemplating the stars, organized collections of 10 billion atoms contemplating the evolution of matter, tracing that long path by which it arrived at consciousness here on the planet Earth and perhaps throughout the cosmos.
You only find human beings on a planet of this kind, with an atmosphere of this kind, with temperature of this kind, supplied by a convenient neighboring star. Just as the flower is a flowering of the field, I feel myself as a personing, a manning, peopling the whole universe. I seem, like everything else, to be a sort of vortex at which the whole energy of the universe realizes itself, comes alive. A sort of aperture through which the whole universe is conscious of itself. Each one of us, not only human beings, but every leaf, every weed, exists in the way it does only because everything else around it does.
But we've learned to define ourselves as separate from it. There are no such things as things. You and I are all as much continuous with the physical universe as a wave is continuous with the ocean. The ocean waves and the universe peoples.
Every one of us, fundamentally, is an act of, a function of, a performance of, a manifestation of the works. The whole blinking cosmos, with all its galaxies, and forever and ever and ever, whatever it is beyond that. Every one of us is really that, but we are pretending we aren't.
If you think that you are only inside your skin, you define yourself as one very complicated little curlicue, way out in space and way out in time. Billions of years ago, you were a big bang, and now you're a complicated human being. You're not something that is a result of the Big Bang. You are the Big Bang, the original force of the universe, coming on as whoever you are.
Not only are we a part of this evolutionary process, but we are able to understand it using brains that have been given to us by this very same process. I mean, here we are on this planet, maybe the only planet in the universe where there is anything capable of understanding why it's there. So it is an amazing privilege.
We are the product of a grand evolutionary sequence, cosmic evolution. Star stuff, the ash of stellar alchemy, had emerged into consciousness. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We are creatures of the cosmos and have always hungered to know our origin, to understand our connection with the universe. The loom of time and space works the most astonishing transformations of matter. We are star stuff, which has taken its destiny into its own hands.